Street or shop online at couplecars.com. You'll be glad you did. Stock number G356093 must trade.
Hi, my name is Molly Party. I'm a realtor with MP Dodge Real Estate. I'm a newly licensed agent and considered numerous brokerages before deciding on MP Dodge. I chose the company that gives me the most support in my new career, plus guidance and encouragement along the way. MP Dodge has a unique mentoring program for new agents. It's helped jumpstart my career and has a supportive management team and administrative staff. So if you're contemplating a career in real estate, look no further than MP Dodge. It will be the best decision you make.
Still using that old, outdated office phone system? You need better. At Hamilton, we offer solutions for the modern office. Whether you have an office full of staff or your employees work remotely and are on the go, seamless call handling is important. Elevate your communication and connect seamlessly with clients and staff with Hamilton Business Phone Systems. Choose better and hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Perch Merch is your one-stop shop for all your printing and promotional needs in Lincoln, Nebraska. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, vehicle wraps, window wraps, print collateral, promotional products, and signage. At Perch Merch, they are committed to delivering high-quality products and exceptional customer service. Their experienced team of designers and printing professionals will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your vision is realized. Call for a quote today at 402-217-5212 or go to perch-merch.com.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Old School with DP and J.
And, this part of camp it happens in high school camp, when they have a certain amount of time before their game, before school starts and all that. And then it happens in college and it happens in the pros. I had more fights with some of my good friends, the guys that I'm considered lifelong friends at this point in camp, than with some over-energized rookie trying to make a name for himself. Seriously.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Coming at you live from the heart of Lincoln, America. This is the Don't Punt Hour with former Nebraska receiver.
Throwing over the middle, completes the pass. He's got speed to the end zone. Touchdown. 45 yards.
And return specialist.
This time he beats the kicker and one more.
DeMornay Pierson-El.
Not only does the sideline have confidence in Pierson-El, but Pierson-El has confidence in Pierson-El.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into Don't Punt Hour. Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. As always, if you guys want to join in, use the Starter Heyman text line. We got Royals on the brick and mortar, but you can still use streams. Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo, Channel 961. Hopefully, Facebook, we're having some issues with Facebook being a little bit on and off today, but nonetheless, that one's not working. We got plenty of other streams as well. With that being said, I want to switch gears a little bit here. We're going to dive into football, but first, I want to dive into some Husker basketball. Before we do that, though, good morning, Pierson-El. How's it going on a Wednesday night?
It's going good. A day closer.
Yeah, day closer indeed.
Working Wednesday. Let's get it.
Yeah, and it is nice to get closer, especially when you got a bad taste in your mouth. I could pick any of my teams here, but yeah, let's get to the weekend here. Let's try to flip the page and have a better one. Speaking of flipping the page, Nebraska basketball. This is an interesting season for them, and I'm just curious, what should the expectations be? Losing Rink Mast is a bigger deal than I think even we give it credit for. He was a leading assist leader. Yeah, at times he was kind of the straw that stirs the drink for that Nebraska offense, just because his ability to pull those fives out, if they put a 4 on him, he can still do the same thing. but still good enough inside to score against the bigs like Zach Edey. I mean, he was a huge reason we beat number 1 Purdue because Rink Mass dominated. It was just better than Zach Edey that entire game. So, like, losing him, big deal. You know, you got to recruit from Turkey. There's some interesting new fits on there. Obviously, you're getting Sejan from Wisconsin, help you in that shooting, but you're going to be missing Keisei Tamanaga. There's in Rink Mass, those two in particular. You get Juwan Gary back. I think that's pretty important. But last season, they get 23 wins, 11 losses. The year before that, they were 16-16. What are you expecting for this year with Coach Hoiberg? I mean, he's had this tenure for a while now at Nebraska. Things really should start cooking, especially after a promising season last year. You made it to the tournament. I know you lost the first game, but I mean, we got to start seeing consistency there. So what's some realistic expectations for this team?
I think, building on how dominant you can be, how dominant the team was last year, I think that's definitely, an expectation. Definitely making it to the tournament again, definitely going deep into, the Big Ten tournament. I think those are obtainable goals. I won't say a rebuild. You just have, it's you got pieces that are there. You just got to make them connect. He has shown time and time again to get the right guys or the guys that, fit what he wants to do there. It just might, take a while for things to get going and whatnot. I know Tamanaga's gone. I know some other people were transferred, and I know what's his name is injured. But he also brought in some interesting pieces that, maybe they needed, a fresh new start. They got to the places that they got to, and, kind of didn't work out. So, a breath of fresh air, a system. You have some guys that kind of understand that, been through the program and kind of knows what to expect. So falling in line of that and kind of, injecting a new way of things, of reinventing themselves, just because, the main guys or the people that we got accustomed to are gone. So I don't think it'll be too far off of, what we seen last year.
And as long as it's anywhere around that ballpark enough to get you in the dance, because if it's anywhere around last year, even if you lose a couple more games, Nebraska's probably still in that tournament pretty firmly. Worst case scenario, you're one of the play-in teams, or you're real. ESPN's got them as a first team out. So I think people are circling around that ballpark. But year 6 of Fred Hoiberg, if you follow the trend, you feel pretty good about it. So year 1, 7-25. Year 2, take it with a grain of salt. He only won 7 games, but only with 20 losses. Shortened season, that's the COVID year. Bounces back 21-22. They get 10 games, 22 losses. Finally 500 for that 22-23 season, 16-16. And then last year, 23-11. First time in Fred Hoiberg's career now where he's positive in conference play. They go 12-8. And that's the big one for me is, can you once again look solid in the Big Ten conference play? I mean, Nebraska's just that's when the season gets ugly. Is when we're stuck just playing conference opponents weeknight after weeknight, weekend after weekend. And Nebraska just hasn't had enough stability, enough know how to win. The home crowd advantage hasn't been great, up until really some few Tim Miles eras. I'd say those last 2. And then it got quiet early with Fred Hoiberg. Really weird after COVID. I think it just took everybody to readjust. And then last year, you finally saw what it looks like if you bring winning basketball to Pinnacle Bank Arena. So, I mean, do you expect them to go positive in conference play again? Is it fair to say, I won't even say 12-8, but just 500 and up?
I would think that would be fair. I mean, you're bringing in veteran players. You're not bringing in, freshmen that are, not to say, I mean, he does have, some freshmen coming in, but you're bringing in veteran players that, needed a new location. So they should adapt to the game quicker. They should be up to speed with things. They understand how the college competition is on this level. So I think that is very reasonable.
Yeah, and I'm looking at Juwan and Gary here, and I want to do a quick breakdown on his stats, because where I want to go with this is I think he's going to have to be a real leader on this team, and this year in particular. Because obviously, I mean, he spent those first 2 years at Alabama, but at Nebraska last season was pretty solid overall. Field goal wise, it took a little bit of a drop there from his Alabama days, really since the entire time he's been at Nebraska, but still right at about 50%. And the variety of shots he takes, you want that 3-point shot to go up a little bit, but it's consistently gone up. Back in Alabama, when he really started playing, it was as low as about 25%, and now he's got it all the way up to 30%. You want to see that number keep going up. But can Juwan Gary be that guy to really lead this team? Because I think he's going to have a really massive role now. He decided to come back. He definitely didn't have to. And he showed a lot of flashes last year. Really wasn't until later in the season where we had some stretches where maybe he wasn't as loud or in those games. But defensively, he's always been good. It's just, can he make that next step offensively? And in particular, the shooting. Because I think he's got plenty of great ways to finish inside. It's how much do we trust him to keep bumping up those shooting percentages?
I mean, year 2 in the system, you're more comfortable in Nebraska and whatnot. You came back for a reason. Clearly, he feels like, it's more out there to get. So I definitely think he will be more of in a leadership role. Now, will everything necessarily flow through him? That's, we have to see necessarily, what steps are to be taken. But I think will he be a big piece of moving forward and how things flow on the offensive side of stuff? Absolutely, especially with mask out and stuff like that. Like everybody's gonna have to step it up. So I expect him to be more consistent. I expect him to have more opportunities to kind of create his own shots, whether that's ISOing, whether that's coming off of pick and roll, whether that's just spot up shooting.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty good about Juwan Gary. I was really happy he came back, because I will say, if Juwan Gary doesn't come back, I'm probably saying we definitely win less games than last year. Unless, you never know, there might be some gems that just have some breakout years. But
Bryce is gone.
Bryce Williams? No, I'm pretty sure we got him back as well.
Yeah, between those two coming back is a real good sign. I expect more so Bryce to kind of take the mantle of things there, but I definitely think those two guys will be a strong enough 1-2 punch on the offense and defensive side.
Yeah, we still got Bryce Young, or not Bryce Young.
He transferred.
He transferred out. Bryce Williams.
Yes.
You got Bryce Williams. He will definitely be back with Juwan Gary. So again, you got that 1-2 punch. Again, it's a bummer Mast isn't there, because I think those guys, just another year in the lab. I mean, the chemistry would get to a point where
do they get a COVID year? Does that, or
I'd have to look into where that comes from?
Or is this year their COVID year? Because if Mast can come back, or say he is what he is, and he could come back next year, and both of them have a COVID year, I mean, run it back one more time.
Yeah, I don't think those guys
like, why not?
Because they're going to be used up. Mast is going to be able to sit this one out because, obviously with the injury. But the other two guys playing this year, they will, I think, fully be out of eligibility.
We'll see.
Yeah. Honestly, with how many loopholes the COVID years bring out. I mean, I see guys that
got 9 years or 7 years or something like that. It's crazy.
I did not in Miami, I think, is who it was. Yeah. It's like, so you see some crazy stuff. So who knows? You can always finagle away through the NCAA system to try to get you another year of eligibility. But I do think those guys will certainly
denied mine, so I don't know.
Yeah, you need that COVID year or severe injury, or honestly, I don't even know how that works, because we're going to talk about the UNLV fiasco as well.
Ooh.
Because that's a whole another can of worms, where it's almost like the NIL world doesn't have any guidelines or rails right now.
I mean, you've given the athletes honestly more power, and you got 3-4 games to play. So I mean, I don't like necessarily of like how you can use that as a bargaining chip. I understand it completely, and I mean, we don't know the full story exactly of what the amount is or what's not being done.
Supposedly $100K is what we're being told on a verbal commitment. It is the information we have. How someone's lying. I mean, we know that much. One side is lying. We just don't know who yet.
So I mean, I think it'll open up the door to where people actually have stuff in writing. But I mean, you might see this more often than not. He was just the first person to pull it off. So it's a very unique situation, but it's unfortunate because I again, you open that door and now you're giving other people ideas. Well, if you don't give me this money, I'm going to do this. You know what I mean? So it's just it can. There's pros and cons to it, but I mean it's. I don't think it's necessarily something that's good for the sport. If it was agreed upon and something was said, like, yeah, I understand you should honor that and whatnot. I mean, and I don't blame him for not. Like, nah, y'all said this and it wasn't necessarily, written in writing or whatnot. But if that's what was expected and whatnot, I mean, you can't blame him for looking out for him. But the other side of that is now if you're in the transfer portal, some people might not touch you, though.
Yeah, he's going to redshirt this entire year. I think that's kind of where he's at. And just redshirt the year and get back to it next year and hold on to that senior season. Would you have stayed? Say he's telling the truth. Would you have stayed and toughed it out?
I don't have enough information necessarily on exactly what the situation is. I don't know what his stats and everything like that looked at. I don't know what his previous stuff was before. So comparing that on what am I looking like to the next level, if it's a long shot and I might not, it's looking late rounds or something like that, and I can look like a Bo Nix or the Gabriel kid, and I can move somewhere, or Cam, the kid with the University of Miami. If it's a situation like that, to where if I can get to a bigger Power 5 school and secure more money with stuff and everything like that, it's definitely something to think about. But I can't say, oh yeah, I would do that too, because I don't know what the whole situation is. Like, I don't have all the details, so I'm not going to make a decision off of something where I don't really know. It's situational. It depends, what he values, what he wants to accomplish. Is he just trying to get a money grab and this is his last hurrah playing football, and it's just that's what he wants to set him up for the next couple of years and after or whatnot or whatever. So it's a lot of variations. There's a lot of situations that can go. And people will act differently with certain things. So I can't say, yeah, I would do that, because I don't know. 100K at that age, and yeah, I would be mad. Yeah, I would be upset. So I'm definitely standing on the table, and if something was said, yeah, I need that and I want that.
Yeah, and it is fair. It's like one of those, like, how bad if say they were lying? Like, was it straight up lying to your face constantly to get you to go over there? Was it like just a quick offhanded comment from somebody who wasn't really in charge of the decision? So this wasn't like hey, top down to bottom, we're all in agreements with this lie. Is this one guy who just happened to lie to me on an off note, but not necessarily representative of the conversations we've had elsewhere? Mm-hmm. So there is a ton of variables in this. It's just the thing that is upsetting is, I really don't blame anyone outside of the person on the verbal commitment who might have agreed. I blame the NCAA. Like, you got to organize this. This is going to keep happening.
Yeah.
Unless you have a meeting and set up some damn guardrails. Like,
the situation with Florida. I mean, you can say that was really, the first situation. So, I mean,
you had to act after that first situation, though. Like, wouldn't you think after that first situation, it's like, oh, okay, hold on. Like, we got to tighten some things up here.
What rules necessarily would you set? Everybody, I mean, even if you said something, people might not even look at you like, man, we was doing it. Like, you didn't, that wasn't exactly what it was. Now you're trying to kind of herd everything back in, and it won't be. You might end up making things, a little bit worse. So what exactly is the guidelines?
I think you got to have some better documentation, better track record. Someone's got to be doing the accounting on this, figuring out where the money's going to. And it should be a thing that I don't understand, how the idea that the coach can't really know anything about the NIL operations. Like, that's the other thing. How the hell is the UNLV coach really supposed to know about this when he's not supposed to be handling any of that? And now his players leaving because someone over at the NIL collectives allegedly lied about $100,000 K that he was going to get in his check. It turned out to be just $3,000 a game. So you have that separation right there. That's just a nightmare. That's change one. I mean, I think you're going to have to bridge that gap, because you can't be telling me that these coaches all are just perfectly paying a blind eye to what's going on in the NIL offices. Like, at some point they have to have some awareness of it to understand, the recruits they're going after. And then you got to have just better accounting, have this stuff on paper. I don't know if you want to make everybody employees, but you're going to have to figure out something that has some real paperwork behind it. that we can't just have accusations left and right and players just getting sharked from bad agents, universities promising more than what they're really going to give. Like, that's, to me, you got to at least pick a direction, and we can fix it if that one doesn't work either. But right now, the NCAA is just sitting there with a thumb up their butt for, I don't want to swear, but I mean, it's just laughable at a certain point that they just can't figure anything out.
It's definitely that's an understatement. I think even holistically, not even the NCAA, the universities, like, these are kids that are representing, your brand. These are kids that are, chasing certain things or whatnot, but you are responsible for something. So I don't agree with the coach kind of not necessarily being in. I feel like all parties, it may be like, how the judicial system, you got the 3 different branches and everything like that. It may be something like that. And I'm not saying give certain veto powers to one side and this and that, but at least till they know exactly what's going on. Hey, I don't have a say so, or, that's a no, that's not a no, but I know exactly what's supposed to be. That way there's no back and forth on either side or pulling the rug.
I like that. So you just got some checks and balances where they don't got all the information, but one side can check and, basically verify that everything's on the up and up without being on the inside.
Exactly. And I'm not so much putting it on the coach, but I think definitely universities got to do a better job. I mean, it's a gray area. So, I mean, and it's not like, even if you kind of overly analyze or overly look over the situation, the NCAA is not going to come down hard on you if you making sure stuff is in line and whatnot. Honestly, you probably teach them a lesson of like, you give them, something, a blueprint to go off of something. Oh. But I mean, this is definitely on the university of not having the right people in the right place to make sure that, all clear sides communication and everything like that is situated and done with. Cause he's not, I'm not saying, I don't think he's pulling 100K out of nowhere. And that's just a number. And all of a sudden, I mean, I haven't seen anything from the university. They haven't, put anything out or anything like that. So,
he doesn't really have a lot of tape on him either. Like, he hasn't, looking at his season, just like, I'm not seeing anything from him. So I don't know if he was just riding the bench the entire time or how we got to that number of 100K, but I mean, it's news to me. This guy wasn't, I'll be honest, I don't watch all 130 plus teams
Me neither.
in the FBS. So no, I have been dialing in on UNLV quarterback play, but this isn't a guy to me that jumps out by any means. So that's the risky part of him hopping back in. You got a whole year off. Like, is someone going to want to risk 100K? And that's like maybe
if you asking for 100K and your film is not necessarily there, it's a business investment. Then no. What do you mean? Absolutely not. Like, they're going to laugh out of you. Yeah, buddy. All right, let us know if other things change. So I mean, it's a bargaining. It's a bargain going on there. So I mean, is he really helping himself, or is he, somewhat hurting himself? 3 games, like, yeah, but you're also playing opponents maybe that might not beat up to your competition. So it's a lot of holes in that timeline with things. So it's again, like I said, just because you mad or upset, certain things, grass isn't always greener on the other side with stuff. And, somebody might not be willing to pay what you think you might be owed with stuff. If that, is your your limit with stuff.
Yeah. I think, if I were him, and this is if the allegedly lies aren't as bad, I would still, give UNLV. It's like, all right, we're 3 games in. We're not anywhere near the number you gave me, but we got some time, right? Like, let's figure this out. Like, obviously I'm not happy. I feel like I got stunned here a little bit, stinted on the pay. Where was the disagreement? Let's figure this out and get me paid, at least pay for my rent, right? Like, figure out some things. If it's to the point where they were just like kind of pulling some strings to get him to sign, and then when he committed, they kept just pushing the lie out there, hoping that they could basically just have him there already and make it a bigger pain in the butt for him to transfer. Like, that's possible.
That would be him on, not doing his due diligence of things. And that's what I mean by, like, I get what you're saying about, with the NCAA making things, but I feel like the university necessarily has to pull their weight around. Like, the money's coming necessarily from somewhere. You know what I mean? So I don't know if you create an agency within or you outsource the agency whatnot, or you hire the College of Business of the university to get things done for situations like that, to understand, like, again, these kids don't, and these type of, it's all new to them. They don't necessarily know this is somewhat similar to, the next level type stuff. And you get a whole lot of stuff. It's going to take you, 2 years to really maybe understand exactly, what's going on with contracts and stuff like that. So yeah, you got sharks out here that's taking advantage of you because you don't know. So I mean, if the university isn't investing in stuff and everything, you might as well outsource a trusted thing that's not gonna, jib anybody's side or whatnot, or be okay with whoever these kids hire to get that certain situation done with. You're gonna have to go through the agents before you get to the kid. It's gonna be like that sooner than later, and that's the sad part, because the non-football stuff is taking away from the football stuff, and that's what you're there for sports, and to get a degree out of it, and it's becoming something more than what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's absolutely what it is. And I don't know when this roller coaster is going to stop, if it ever does, or if it's just kind of, some years it goes by really fast. We have some crazy stories. Other years it slows down and everybody's just kind of doing what they're supposed to be doing. I still think the NCAA is at fault for not having really just no guardrails on this entire thing. It's going to keep happening. The universities, you got to have an honest conversation. It's like the universities not calling anybody out. There's been plenty of instances where they haven't been on the up and up with their decision making. It comes down to money for them too. And if you can get away with lying a little bit, and this quarterback is going to bring you some more money if you make up some fake lies to get him there. I think you're a fool to just trust all the universities on an honor system if you're the NCAA. And that's basically what feels like it's happening. And then again, I like the idea where you got to have some checks and balances with this whole thing. Whether it's the conference that's the enforcer behind it, the NCAA, if you trust them to do it. But, I think we're going to get to a point where the Big Ten, the SEC, Pac, six-pack now, I can't remember. Well, no, they had all those state teams, so they're bigger as well. They were the six-pack for a little bit there. Actually, are they the six? Yeah, because they're the Pac-2, and then they added their state teams.
Honestly, I'm not paying attention to the Pac-12 until next year. That's just me being completely honest.
I think it is the six-pack. That is not officially called the six-pack, obviously, but I think we're up to 6 teams there. That's a totally different note, but we will go ahead through to our first break here. On the other side, the morning Pierson-El, because we can rant about the NIL and how messy it is, and it's going to be messy for years yet. But on the other side, since we've seen 3 games, maybe 4 games, maybe 3 for most of these teams here in the Big Ten, we're going to do some early season Big Ten power rankings. We're kind of getting an idea on who these teams are. Some are surprising, some not surprising at all, whether they're dominant or they're just bad. We'll talk about that all on the other side. Don't Punt Hour with the morning Pierson-El.
It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier Sea-Doo dealership. Score up to $300 off or a free 2-year warranty on 2024 Sea-Doo Sparks and $500 off or a free 2-year warranty on all other brand new 2024 Sea-Doos. Rule the streets on an Indian motorcycle with customer cash and trade-in credits up to $2,000 during the month of September. On or off-road, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered with a large selection of motorcycles and watercraft in stock at their new 27th and I-80 location. Hurry in, the clock is running down.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Nebraskans are proud of their public schools. Hi, I'm Tim Royers. As a Nebraska Teacher of the Year, I traveled across the state and saw the value public schools bring to our communities every day. They're where our kids get the skills and opportunities they need to succeed. They're where families come together to enjoy a musical, cheer for our teams, talk with teachers, and build trusted relationships. Strong public schools create strong communities.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and Truck Month is back. We have absolutely gigantic savings right now at Koppel They are offering $12,500 off on select new pickups. That is not a mistake. You heard right. $12,500 off list price right now on select new pickups. Those discounted units, though, will not last long. These are all manager specials. You have to come in now, so hurry in down 144th Street or shop online at couplecars.com. You'll be glad you did. Stock number G356093 must trade.
Hi, my name is Molly Party. I'm a realtor with MP Dodge Real Estate. I'm a newly licensed agent and considered numerous brokerages before deciding on MP Dodge. I chose the company that gives me the most support in my new career, plus guidance and encouragement along the way. MP Dodge has a unique mentoring program for new agents. It's helped jumpstart my career and has a supportive management team and administrative staff. So if you're contemplating a career in real estate, look no further than MP Dodge. It will be the best decision you make.
Still using that old, outdated office phone system? You need better. At Hamilton, we offer solutions for the modern office. Whether you have an office full of staff or your employees work remotely and are on the go, seamless call handling is important. Elevate your communication and connect seamlessly with clients and staff with Hamilton Business Phone Systems. Choose better and hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Perch Merch is your one-stop shop for all your printing and promotional needs in Lincoln, Nebraska. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, vehicle wraps, window wraps, print collateral, promotional products, and signage. At Perch Merch, they are committed to delivering high-quality products and exceptional customer service. Their experienced team of designers and printing professionals will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your vision is realized. Call for a quote today at 402-217-5212 or go to perch-merch.com.
At Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical, we're ready, reliable, and recommended. Water heater acting up or your sump pump on the fritz? Call Action. Summer's around the corner. Is your AC working? Are you sure? Call Action. Electrical problems? I'm telling you, call Action. Call Action for a free same-day estimate or a trusted second opinion. You heard that right, a free same-day estimate. 402-423-6960. ActionLincoln.com.
Old School with DP and J.
And, this part of camp it happens in high school camp, when they have a certain amount of time before their game, before school starts and all that. And then it happens in college and it happens in the pros. I had more fights with some of my good friends, the guys that I'm considered lifelong friends at this point in camp, than with some over-energized rookie trying to make a name for himself. Seriously.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
It's game on at Elway Power Sports of Lincoln, Nebraska's premier Sea-Doo dealership. Score up to $300 off or a free 2-year warranty on 2024 Sea-Doo Sparks and $500 off or a free 2-year warranty on all other brand new 2024 Sea-Doos. Rule the streets on an Indian motorcycle with customer cash and trade-in credits up to $2,000 during the month of September. On or off-road, Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has you covered with a large selection of motorcycles and watercraft in stock at their new 27th and I-80 location. Hurry in, the clock is running down.
This is the Don't Punt Hour on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here is your host, DeMornay Pierson-El.
All right, welcome back into the Don't Punt Hour. Switching things over to the Big Ten of college football. We got DeMornay Pierson-El, the other host, streaming in. You guys can always join in using these streams. Facebook, YouTube, X, Allo, Channel 961 if you got Allo cable. All right, with that out of the way, previous segments, we talked some Nebraska hoops. We ranted about name, image, and likeness on par. It's about a monthly segment here that everyone in sports radio does because it's such a messy thing. But we're going to talk a little early, but we're about 4 games in for most teams if you had to buy 3 games. But we're looking at these teams right now, get an idea of where everyone's kind of sitting in the Big Ten. So good morning, Pierson-El. I'll start right with you. Give me number 18. When you're looking at the Big Ten standings, as of right now, who do you got at the bottom of these power rankings? Yeah, you got to unmute. There you go.
Sorry, still muted. You said the bottom of 18?
Yeah, number 18. I'll give you mine. I'm going to put UCLA there still. I'm seeing some disrespect for Northwestern. I know they don't look great, but they always surprise people. UCLA, maybe that's too rushed because they put up somewhat of a fight against LSU, but I'm going to put them all the way down at the bottom.
Yeah, UCLA's last, followed probably by Northwestern. Northwestern and Minnesota, I would probably say is a toss-up.
Minnesota sitting 2-2. They are 0-1 in the Big Ten.
But again, like we haven't even. This is the hard part because it's like, okay, you said Northwestern's 2-2. Who have they played? So it's like,
overtime? The Duke. You have to figure out how good is Duke this year. But that game was so ugly. That was such an ugly game. Looked like nobody wanted to win it. I want to say that was a Friday night game in a windy, cold night in Northwestern's temporary field. It was a weird game all the way around. They don't look overly impressive, but they just win ugly all the time. So I just always bump them up a few just for that reason.
I would say like not in exact order, but like the bottom 5, I would say is probably UCLA, Northwestern, Minnesota, Purdue, and I'm throwing Wisconsin in there because you lost your quarterback.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Okay, if you that's.
I know that's like the bottom 5. I know that's the bottom 5 team.
Okay, Wisconsin I wouldn't put in there, but with the quarterback and the fact that they haven't been able to run the ball like they have been in years prior, their bread and butter with that's gone, and now you're dealing with some tough quarterback issues where you just don't really trust them, and we've seen what that does to programs. Go look at Florida State, look at Nebraska last year. Pick a quarterback in a bad situation. Deshaun Watson in the NFL, like it just. When the quarterback's not right, the whole team's not right, and it just falls apart from there. So, that's probably a good one to slide up there.
They may be the 5th one up from the bottom, but I mean, they have to prove a lot, and I think their schedule is a rough schedule. So that your starter, what you wanted to do, and everything, throw that all out the window, and you come in from scratch. Yeah, Wisconsin's there.
Yeah, I'm gonna row the boat above Wisconsin actually.
Okay,
I'll put them up there. I mean, this is what surprises me about Wisconsin, though, is like I am a little bit shocked by Fickell deciding to actually go with a little more air raid this year. Like last year, you got 6 because you're doing what Wisconsin's always done, just bullying teams by running it. Yes, you opened up the playbook a little bit more, but I am surprised because now you got your backup in there and your air raid that you pushed more this year is going to look disastrous. So you're going to have to go back to the thing that you guys have happily pushed away. So Wisconsin, I think I probably got somewhat of a similar order. I got UCLA, then I'll throw in Purdue, Northwestern, Wisconsin, then Minnesota. That's probably my bottom 5. Now things get a little bit interesting. My next one, all the way up at 13 at the bottom here. I'll go Michigan State. I just think they've been competitive, but down the stretch, they've got how good is Boston College too? That's the other part. I think Boston College might be underrating Boston College, and therefore I bumped Michigan State up. But that's kind of where I'm at with the Spartans. Because you're kind of splitting hairs here again with only one conference game for a lot of these teams.
It's too early, and like I said, I mean, like my gut is. Like in these next couple picks, I know USC is going to be in there. Look, and when I say a Big Ten game, like Michigan isn't even anywhere near of what they were. We seen Texas coming into the big house and roll over Texas. Roll over Michigan.
I think Texas is that good though. They're definitely not the Michigan of last year.
Okay, but I'm saying that look what that good of a Texas team did to a solid Michigan team. Like you still have a lot of those players that was on a national championship level type team, and they made it a Big Ten type of game. And like I said, I'm not too sure some of these Pac-12 teams can keep up with if you get not exactly that type of caliber, but a consistent of that type of game. And Michigan, I mean, made it ugly. They out physical them, they out toughness them. Like I don't know how much SC can handle that. And the bad thing is they don't have too much of that on their schedule this season. So I don't think their record will be as good as they really are because of the opponents that they will be facing.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I can't poke any holes in that. That's a fair assessment. Like this early, it's like I have nothing definitive to bang my fist on the table and tell
Like you can say, oh, well, they beat LSU. Like, listen, when LSU hired BK, I was like, that's a terrible hire. I said I didn't like that hire at all. You're leaving Notre Dame, which is, you can say whatever, that different group of kids, not to say, I mean, they have somewhat similar backgrounds, but you go down there, that's a different culture. It's a culture shock for him. And not meaning, exactly what that's saying, but he has that area, that region is just different. So I just don't like that matchup down there. So I'm like, yeah, USC got that, but how good is LSU, honestly?
Yeah, I mean, LSU, it's kind of the thing of last year is like, how good is that defense? Like, is that defense going to be able to slow teams down when you look?
I got SC, Maryland, and probably Rutgers, like in that next scale of things. Like, those are the next. Like, y'all aren't the worst. Like, y'all are a solid team. They should get 7 wins, maybe at least that. You are a good opponent, just depending on what your schedule looks like with things. I think if everything's clicking for you and whatnot, and you play a solid game, like you could be tough for some people, but I don't necessarily put them in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten exactly just yet.
I'd throw Washington in that group as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, I forgot about Washington.
Yeah, I think they're in that middle pack. They're not as miserable as like a UCLA. Time will tell. Maybe they are. Maybe they are that miserable. We just don't know it yet. But I think they're probably sitting in the middle. Now we're getting into the top 10 here.
Okay.
At number 10, the first one inside the top 10. It's gross, but I'll throw in Iowa. I think it's probably where Iowa sits.
That's a fair statement. I mean, they've been consistent. They had how they're going to win. Yep. It looks ugly. It's annoying, but they're consistent at what they do. So I mean, I'll give you that. Did I say Rutgers already?
Yeah, you put them in the middle. I'd go USC at 9, then I'd probably go Rutgers at 7. That's kind of where my mindset's at.
Okay.
You don't have to exactly order these two because again, it's really more about the groupings.
India. Before we even say Iowa, Indiana. I forgot about Indiana.
above or below in Iowa?
Because
I might be a little too high on Indiana. They keep surprising me.
I feel like Iowa and Indiana are swappable. They're the same type of team. I think Indiana is more consistent and probably a little bit more explosive on offense. But they're in the same category as what I expect, from them. So just with the history of Iowa, like I would give it to Iowa just because like you've seen them win 10, 11 games with piss poor offense and good defense. So, I mean, I'll go Indiana, Iowa. Then right after that,
where I'd throw USC in after Iowa. I know you're down on them, but I still think USC is a good enough team to be in that top 10. Now you're really getting nuts. Now we're talking about like your Illinois, Nebraska. Neither of us have mentioned Nebraska yet. And you know what? I probably should do that. I
think we're definitely in the top 10.
I'd say we're better than Iowa. I really do think this year
easily. Like we're definitely better than that. It's just where I want to see more consistent against Big Ten type of opponents. Like I know it's there. I know you've done it. I've seen it. Seen Rule do it last year. This last game kind of. I know people are off. I know you can have a bad game. So I expect them to do better. So I got them, at least in the top 8.
That's fair. And, maybe it's a good thing that they got that chip back on their shoulder. Like, hold on, pump the brakes. Like, nobody respects you still. Like, we're still not at that point where people respect Nebraska and tell people, like, actually fear coming into Memorial Stadium. I mean, all these players are just crazy confident walking in because it's like, this will be a fun environment. I can't wait to dunk on you in front of all your fans. And unfortunately, I feel like that's just kind of been the attitude of all these teams lately. I mean, why? Yes, the atmosphere is awesome. It's loud. Communications can be tough. But when you win there, more often than not, it doesn't necessarily strike fear into you. So I think we're still at that point with Nebraska. I'm not going to put them any higher. No. You got to show me something against Purdue. Like, clearly you're the better team. You're favored again.
Offense for as not being sustainable, you still look good. Like you put enough points up to win. You had 4 missed opportunities. So bright side, Nebraska has the ability to move up. I'm just putting, I'm just going off of last seen. Now if this was a week before then, we easily, top 6.
I think so. I right now, if I put Rutgers, Nebraska, Illinois, all in that. They're all kind of clawing each other in that positioning group, just under where we get to the actual juggernaut.
Yep.
But yeah, this will be a fun one for Nebraska too. I think they'll get Maccabee again. I think it was a couple seasons back. He ran all over Nebraska. Be a good revenge game for the defense if they remember him. Like, let's not let that happen again, because he definitely helped take control of that game for him. So if we have that grouping here, now we're to the real juggernauts. The top 4, in no particular order, I think outside of Michigan being towards the bottom, I'm probably going to go Oregon, Penn State, and then obviously number 1 still sitting the king, Ohio State.
I'm going Penn State. First number 1, the number 1 spot, Ohio State. Second, Penn State. I think Michigan, Oregon. I don't think they could mess with those 2 universities like on their worst day. Honestly, like that's just what it is. Like, and to be honest, I'm about this close from putting Oregon in the same category as like where Nebraska and everything like that is, because again, I'm just not high on these Pac-12 teams when it comes to playing physical, playing those type of games, and you're not playing in the West Coast, or you're not playing on the Pacific West Coast at all. You in the Midwest, it's cold, you outside, different temperatures. Like you can't air it out. Like your identity won't necessarily be your identity, and I don't necessarily know if Oregon matches up to some of these other. Well, I know they don't match up to these other programs. Once it late October. Like when real football, really starts. It's cold outside. The ground, when you land on it, it hurts. The wind is blowing crazy. You can't really throw it down the field how you want to and everything like that. It's other things that you got to adjust. We haven't really seen some of these other prestigious, colleges play in that type of environment consistently.
Yeah, and if you're USC, it's like, man, you even got Michigan on a nice warm day. Like, it's the nice part of the year. You got them early. You didn't have to go to the brick house in November. Like,
was their quarterback was struggling. I think Michigan beat him with a backup.
Yeah,
a backup.
That goes to what you're saying, right? Like,
so,
as the team gets to the fourth quarter,
we've seen
team get stronger. It feels like
we've seen Oregon struggle with Idaho. Boise is legit, but we've seen you struggle with Idaho. Okay, let that be a tough. Okay, let that be Rutgers. Like, you might not get out of that. Let that be Maryland. You might not get out of that. And Maryland is looking good this year.
They're looking really good. That's a team that's like on the par with Indiana. Like, one of those
even last year they were looking good. So it's once you kind of hit that the top 12 teams. Honestly, it could go either way outside of maybe the top 4 teams in the conference.
Yeah.
Really the top 2. I just say Penn State and Ohio State. Is just like you got to have your money right. Michigan's still going to do what they're going to do. So I mean, that's just a physical game. They're going to out manhandle you. I mean, give or take, if you can compete with that and slow their defense down and put points up, you could be in that.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed. I'm looking at some of these Pac-12 teams, and I realize no Pac-12 team has to play Northwestern at home this year. Northwestern played Washington on the road because, like, have you seen Northwestern's temporary field they got set up for this year?
Yes.
Oh my Lord, it is cold up there. It is.
Oh,
There's
right
no
on the
wind
water.
protection. What's that?
You're right on the water.
Yeah, it's right on the water. There's zero wind protection from you. That is a cold, freezing game. And I was looking to see, I was hoping that there'd be a Pac-12 team that have to travel up to the glorious field of Northwestern's interim field in the meantime while they get the real one set up. Because that, to me, speaks Big Ten football. Like, you're quite literally playing on the lakefront. Like, it doesn't get any colder than that.
I mean, UW is right there on the water, too. So, I mean, they have that in common with at least doing that. So, I mean, it's not necessarily huge, but definitely Chicago wins are completely different than, Seattle, Tacoma.
Yeah, there's just nothing around it, which makes it so much worse. Like, you got zero wind protection.
Like I said, I'm not big on some of these Pac-12 teams because it's like you didn't get OU scheduled to the SEC. You didn't get a truly welcome to welcome to the conference. Like they kind of okay they because they want you got more teams that can show up and I get it, but I mean when it comes time to play those teams and whatnot, it's gonna look like those Bama teams playing those Pac-12 teams and they blowing them out, or those Clemson teams back then playing some of those high scoring offenses. When it's time to actually get physical and kind of that smash mouth football, you got to at least be able to run up against that. And I don't think those Pac-12 teams do that very well, and that's going to be a problem, especially in the Big Ten.
Yeah, the biggest eye-opener, I think, for all of this and what we're talking about, we'll really find out later in the season. Like when things get cold, frigid, uncomfortable, when the passing game isn't as favorable, whether it's the windy is that day, bad visibility because it's snowing slightly, rain. Yeah,
like,
cold rain too. I mean, cold rain will shock.
Some of them kids is, never played in snow. That's a different ball game. It's a different process of staying warm, of mental strength. You got to put on different gloves to, catch a wet or cold football, so it's different. So that's going to be a shock. Who wants to play in that? You got some kids, they grew up in it or used to it and everything like that. So it's not really something so different. But, them West Coast kids, not all of them, used to playing below 20, used to playing negative. That's not a fun game.
No, it's really not. It's I'm excited for it as someone who feels like Nebraska was a little bit of the guinea pig, and this could have been just how it laid out. But like the schedule they got when they entered was brutal, and it's like maybe they learned maybe let's not give one of the biggest brands entering into our conference a brutal slate because we want them to do somewhat well so we can continue to sell tickets.
Still 9 games, so I mean it wasn't all that and beat some quality opponents,
but it was year after year. I mean, like it was insane. Those schedules when you first got in. I mean, it wasn't just like the first season that you could chalk it up as like every once in a while you're going to get a tough schedule. I mean, it felt like every year was just brutal for Nebraska.
Yeah. I mean, they did it. They did that. Maryland didn't get that treatment. Rutgers didn't get that treatment. Their schedules was might have been worse than what Nebraska's schedule was when we first got into the Big Ten. So, but I think you'll see some of those games to where they think you're supposed to win, but you catch the right team. You might catch an Illinois. You might catch a Maryland. You might catch us. And it's like, oh, wait, hold on now. This not what you thought it was. So we've got a strong conference, but I'm not, like I said, I'm not high on the Pac-12 teams. Like y'all have to go in there and compete against not, of course, Ohio State's going to get their best shot because, I mean, that's a big game or whatnot. I want to see, like I said, Oregon versus us, Oregon versus Maryland, Oregon versus Illinois, not Purdue, Penn State. Get some of those quality Big Ten matchups to kind of welcome you. Yeah, this is Big Ten ball. They don't got too many of those. So I don't think those teams will be battle tested and they're their resume really won't be as strong when you kind of like look at it.
Yeah. It's especially when it gets colder because, you mentioned like you want to see some of those matchups. Also, just the matchup consistency of like, from Pac-12, you definitely had some games where even if you lack the focus that day, if you're good enough, you can probably still come out with the win. Like we see it over and over in the Big Ten. If you don't got your T's crossed or I's dotted that day, it doesn't matter how skilled you are. These Big Ten teams have such great coaches and just enough skill where they can beat you if you're not mentally locked in. Like if it's Northwestern, my jaw's not going to hit the floor if they find a way to upset USC. They're not on the schedule this year, but I use them for an example. And then what does it look like when you go from Illinois to say Penn State? Then you do have Rutgers. Now all of a sudden you're on the road again, and you got to go to Indiana. Like if it's Big Ten,
Minnesota, you go to Minnesota in October, catch you at night, or Michigan State, and please don't let it rain. Like these are different tangibles that people have to look at and then be like. And I'm not saying that they haven't played in rainy games because they have. It rains up in Seattle, it rains in Oregon. I'm not saying that, but it's different when it's a lot colder in the Midwest than it is, on the coast. You know what I mean? And now you got to play. Now you got to get up and hit. Now you got to tackle somebody. Now you got to catch a ball. Now you got to run. It's a little different.
It's gonna be fun to watch. I know that much is certain. That being said, gonna wrap it up here. Shout out to Morning Pierson-El on time as always. Up next, we got Off the Field with Kendall Lanier. We got a great guest in tonight as well. Emma Spence, the gymnast of Nebraska, will be joining her. So don't go anywhere. We're going to keep things rolling. Me and DeMornay Pierson-El will talk a lot of Purdue versus Nebraska tomorrow. Appreciate you guys listening. We'll do it again tomorrow.